In this lesson, we're going to be looking at measure of center and how do you describe and compare data sets. The mean of a set is the sum of values divided by the number of values in that set, or its average. In the example, the mean of that data set is when we add up all of those numbers and we get 68, and we divide it by the number of points in the data set, which is 13. So 68 divided by 13 is roughly 5.23. A good keynote is that mean is really just an average. Median is the middle value of its data set, counting in to the center from both sides. In the example, if we count into the center from both sides, we find that the median of that data set is 6. Mode is the most common value of data in the data set. In the example, when we look for the mode, we see that 2, 6, 7, and 8 all appear 2 times, so they are all the mode of that data set. The range of a data set is the difference between the greatest and the least value in the data set. In our example data set, the greatest value is 9 and the least value is 1. So the difference between them is 9 minus 1, or 8. The first quartile is the median of the lower half of the data set without the median. In the example data set, 2 and 3 mark the center of the lower half of the data. So the average of 2 and 3 is 2.5. The third quartile can be found by finding the middle of the upper half of the data set, which shows between 7 and 8. So the average of 7 and 8 is 7.5, giving us our third quartile. We're going to need this first and third quartile to find the interquartile range. That is the difference from the third to the first quartile. So 7.5 minus 2.5 gives us an interquartile range of 5. So the information gathered on that example is that 5 is the median. The first quartile is the middle of the lower half of the data set, which is 2.5, and the third quartile is the middle of the upper half, which is 7.5. Range is the maximum minus its minimum, so 9 minus 1 giving us 8. And the interquartile range, which is Q3 minus Q1, or 7.5 minus 2.5, giving us an interquartile range of 5. Standard deviation is the measure of spread of the data points from their mean, and they can be found using this formula. In our example data set, the mean is approximately 5.25. So if I list my data points, subtract the mean from that data point so that I can see that 1 is negative 4.23, 2 is negative 3.23. I don't have to repeat the new 2 value. The calculation can be reused. And so on, all the way down till 9 is 3.77. Again, here, all I'm doing is subtracting the mean of the set from the data value. So 1 minus 5.25 is a negative 4.23. Once I have all of those calculations done, I'm going to go back and I'm going to square all of those values, remembering that a negative squared is a positive number. So negative 4.23 is approximately 18. Negative 3.23 is approximately 10.4, and so on all the way down to 3.77 is approximately 14.2. This is going to help me in finding my standard deviations. Once I have a value squared, I'm going to divide that value by 13. So 18 divided by 13 is approximately 1.4. This is going to give me my standard deviation of this data point from the data set's mean. and I'm going to divide each of my values by 13 to come up with their individual standard deviation of the mean. Remember that standard deviation is simply the measure of spread of the data point from the mean of the data set. And remember, if your pea is yellow, you need to get more math in your diet.